It used to be that college students were known for using illegal drugs, but nowadays, more and more kids are using legal prescription drugs to get high. I'm in La Plaza Cultural, where Rolando is working on his newest idea. It's all about plastic bottle caps. There are many misconceptions about the morning after pill, so I came down to the village to ask some college students what they've heard about it. Undercover police attended student meetings. One cop even went on a whitewater rafting trip and recorded how many times the members prayed. None of these students was accused of criminal activity, only religious beliefs. Recent reports have revealed ongoing NYPD investigations of Muslim student organizations across the Northeast. Now, students at New York University are uniting against what they see as a violation of First Amendment rights. It was after these protests that the city redid the park. In 1936, they transformed the square into this grassy, fenced-off area. But just changing the surface of the park could not stop the unrest that continued on the Lower East Side. When getting ready to switch your clocks forward this Sunday, sunlight is key. So take your dog on a walk, eat breakfast by a window, anything to soak up some rays. But not everyone has always been a fan of the drummers. Over the years, neighbors have sent in noise complaints, and in the late 1990s, almost had the drummers kicked out of the park. I'm Cassia Reynolds with Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Artists from all over the 5 boroughs gathered on Friday to open the Occupy Tribes Now art show. They're raising awareness for a gathering of the tribes. It's a nonprofit arts community center owned by Steve Cannon. His landlord recently sent him an eviction notice. Cannon is a writer and former professor who lost his eyesight in 1991. He started the gallery in his own apartment shortly afterwards.
There was a need for a place like this down in this neighborhood for young folk your age to be able to express themselves in terms of music, art, and poetry.
That makes me different than a week for you.
The gallery grew into a spot to display and buy local artwork. It's a place for young artists to hold events and hang out. It also publishes a monthly alternative art magazine that reaches an international audience. For over 20 years, Cannon has opened his apartment to the community. He's even jump-started the careers of famous artists such as Ishmael Reed and David Hammonds. But the landlord has now put the apartment on the market. Cannon filed a lawsuit and is waiting for his landlord's response.
What I really want to do is fight this crazy landlord of mine and try and maintain and continue the things here.
Steve and the Gathering Tribes exemplify some of the issues that artists might have working within a society that values money over people.
This is the theme of Occupy Tribes Now. Over the past few weeks, artists have been submitting pieces that address housing and human rights issues in America.
Art shouldn't be a commodity, and it shouldn't be something that you can dispose of or strip a community of.
Each piece on display in the Tribes Gallery is on sale for between $50 and $100.
Art is a human right, you know, and being an artist or a creative person like Steve is really something that maybe artists need to fight more for.
And indeed, the artists in Occupy Tribes Now are taking up the cause. The show will go on until March 4th.
We're not going to let the NYPD's surveillance or accusations or whatever may happen to us change who we are.
Wednesday afternoon, students gathered at Kimmel to address NYPD surveillance of Muslim student organizations, including the NYU Islamic Center. Undercover police attended student meetings. One cop even went on a whitewater rafting trip and recorded how many times the members prayed. None of these students was accused of criminal activity, only religious beliefs.
I don't think it's fair, and it's honestly scary that they have the power to do that without us knowing.
The NYU community is standing beside them. NYU speakers, from the College of Arts and Science dean to a member of the Center for Judaism, spoke to the crowd. And they weren't just expressing their concerns for those connected to the Islamic Center.
When the actions of our state and our city start to look like the actions of a police state, we should all be terrified and angry.
If nobody's going to speak out for my Muslim friends, who's going to speak out for me when inevitably we become the next target?
The students call themselves NY United. They made t-shirts and signs protesting the NYPD surveillance program. After the gathering, members of NY United went to the town hall meeting with President Sexton. He's already written a letter to the NYPD commissioner, but students say that's not enough.
What will you do to make it a public statement that we weren't, that this wasn't right?
We don't have the power to affect the behavior of others, so I'm not going to claim anything more than the fact that I will use the most effective means possible to try to affect change.
He touched on the subject, and I appreciate him trying to do that, but in terms of his answer, it's not satisfactory at all.
But others remain optimistic about the event and its impact on the community.
If it can alleviate even one Muslim or non-Muslim's concern that they're being spoken for and that that their voice is being heard, I think that's a really great accomplishment.
They say it's not going to stop there. They're going to keep fighting for justice. This is Cassia Reynolds for NYU Tonight. Signs of spring have arrived all over Manhattan, but in Tompkins Square Park, it's the sound of congos that rings in the season. These are the Tompkins Square Park drummers. Each member comes from a different musical and cultural background. The group's fresh, spontaneous sound mixes the rhythms and instruments of its members' upbringings.
Forget about all that, what color you are, where you're from, just enjoy each other. It's a beautiful thing.
You've got all kinds of people here, all kinds of ethnicities, and it's great to see that there is no discrimination when it comes to that music.
The drummers have been meeting regularly at Tompkins for over 50 years now.
We were kids, 15, 16, 14. We couldn't walk down any block, 6th Street, 10th Street, 8th Street. Everywhere there was a gang. There was always drugs and problems. So the only way we got out of that, was by drumming.
As the drummers grew older, they passed down the tradition to the next generation.
They're a family to me, my second family.
But not everyone is a fan of the drummers. Over the years, neighbors have sent in noise complaints, and in the late 1990s, almost got them kicked out of the park.
They will call the cops on us. Even right now, it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. On a beautiful day, they'll tell us not to play.
But the drummers put together a petition with over 5,000 signatures, aiming to keep the music in Tompkins. They presented it in court, and it ruled that they could play from 10 a.m. until the park closed. That ruling stands today.
We're enjoying the music between us, but we like to see people enjoying themselves,
I think it motivates the people to feel good and have a good time.
Want to join the fun? You're most likely to find the group late afternoons and weekends at Tompkins. Just follow the sound of the drums.
Yes.
All my art is to bring back to life waste.
Rolando Politi, who currently works under the alias Capo Capino, is leader of the Trash Worship Artists, a group that believes in the ceremony and restoration of garbage. His work centers around packaged consumer goods.
I really don't support recycling to get back the same kind of packaging junk anyway. Why give back to them a can of Coca-Cola and they recycle back the same can?
Rolando says the idea of trash worship first came to him when he saw how people treated garbage and the continuous buildup of waste.
I had this revelation with a few other people to say, we really need to worship the waste and do it as a ceremonial, as a process, in a way that people will start to respect it. And that's where trash worship was born.
Originally from Italy, Rolando spent most of his youth traveling around Europe. In the early 80s, he heard that many buildings in the Lower East Side were being abandoned. That's when he moved to New York and joined the squatting community.
The first night I slept here in this corner The squatting and restoring buildings has gone hand in hand with my artwork. All my work reflects some type of reclamation, restoration, or rehab of waste.
Rolando's projects with trash worship have spanned from a giant installation of a Coke bottle to public performances celebrating a creature made from trash, named Bobubli, for bottles, bubble, and blister packaging. The trash god was made out of those types of non-recyclable material. On Avenue C and 9th Street, at a community garden, La Plaza Cultural, Rolando has created flowers from trash that line the fence. The project won the garden the Dress Up Your Neighborhood Award in 2002. It's one of the many ways Rolando is involved in the Lower East Side community.
To the kids, I do want to pass on to them this sensibility about the trash and not look at it as something not to touch anymore.
In La Plaza Cultural, Rolando and several kids from the neighborhood built a tree out of bottle caps. They wanted to replace the one that fell during Hurricane Irene.
I used to play around that willow and have a lot of fun. And then when it fell down in the hurricane, I felt like building another one.